the continuous flash methodology they're using?
Really building a complete team.
So welcome to another week of the Mission Log D3, that is Third Derivative's effort to kind of document the building of the world's largest climate tech accelerator as we create it. And we weekly also check in on progress in supporting startups with Bryan, Guido, Hassin, and some special guests sometimes. Bryan is, of course, the CEO of Third Derivative. And I think this week, one of the audiences that's been viewing this has been other people managing ecosystem organizations, other accelerators that are trying to do similar work in the world. And so lessons learned, Bryan, on being on team, and part of the staff of a big ecosystem thesis accelerator like this, trying to advance climate tech. What would you say is top of mind for you?
Yeah, when you're building a very ambitious startup accelerator, like their derivative is, it's in many ways not so different from building a startup as well, right? We're hoping to grow exponentially, increase our impact substantially in an incredibly short amount of time. And I've built, 8 startups previously, some very successful, some rapidly rising to tens of millions of dollars US in revenue, and hundreds of employees, some less successful, but also often the best learning experiences come from the failures. And one, I would say, leadership and team building and team management lesson that I've taken from those experiences that seems very applicable actually to where we are in our own inflection point, our own growth journey at Third Derivative, is really around the kind of the makeup of a strong leadership team. This really popped up with me recently. There was an article published in the Harvard Business Review just last week or a couple weeks ago called "In Praise of the Incomplete Leader," recognizing through research, not just through my own anecdotal experience, but recognizing that it's hard or well nigh impossible for a leader to be kind of all things to all people. So leading an ambitious and rapidly growing organization, a great strategy is often to recognize the areas where you're good and the areas where you're not. And instead of just trying to shore up all of the areas where you're not so good, a more useful strategy can be to surround yourself by people who are good in those areas, who fill those gaps. And so I think the first lesson is really, and it's one we tell startups all the time, is around heterogeneity and really building a complete team rather than trying to be the complete team in and of yourself as a leader. It's a great way to lead to burnout, a great way to lead to, disgruntled frustration for all of your stakeholders as well.
So it's really a recruiting strategy. You're trying to not self-select, but to broaden the diversity of input and opinion. And then how else do you show up as a manager in an accelerator, not trying to be all things to all people, but trying to share the load?
Well, I'll say it's kind of classic entrepreneurship, right? Where the light at the end of one tunnel is actually the light at the beginning of the next tunnel. And so it's sort of a similar dynamic here. You build a really strong, competent, ambitious, and diverse team around you, and it also creates kind of leadership and management challenges, right? People have different styles. They have different working ways. They have different expectations for themselves, for their peers, and from you as a leader. So it's important as a leader, especially if you're leading the accelerator, in sum total, not just to be doing the work of the accelerator, but also picking your head up and doing the meta work of kind of working on the team, working on the team dynamics, working on the connective tissue, because you get so many really strong, talented, and ambitious personalities with very different approaches together, and without that work, it can be a pretty quick path to failure.
So to make it concrete, at Third Derivative, you're kind of year in, we documented recently the great results midway in the 18-month cohort of the first 46 companies, capital raised and other positive indicators. You're about to onboard another 15 startups, not to give away the punchline here for the announcement, but some really exciting new cohort members or a new cohort. How is this internal dynamic manifesting? Getting different people to do different things, and are there demands on you, say, as a leader, to do everything? How do you manage?
Yeah, it's a challenging dynamic, especially for an accelerator like ours, right, where we explicitly are not just working with startups, right? But we're working with corporate partners and with investors and policymakers and parent entities like New Energy Nexus and RMI. And so it's crucial that we have everyone working together in very tight collaboration, right? We can't build silos and say, okay, you're responsible for this, go off and do your thing and do it your way. And this other person will go off and do their thing and do it their way. We need people really working and collaborating quite well. And just candidly and transparently, that's an area where we've been experiencing some friction on the third derivative management team. As I say, we have a number of incredibly talented, boldly ambitious team members. This is why we brought them on. But sometimes with very different visions of how to get things done, how to collaborate, how to work with each other, and how to work, with me personally. So trying to have the humility to recognize that we can't solve everything. We don't have all the skill sets to be everything to everyone, including just on the management team. We've actually, for the first time at Third Derivative, retained an executive coach to come in and coach each of us individually, help us be our best selves. We can all use that, but also coach us as a team. Building a team, a high performance team, is harder in this all remote kind of COVID driven environment, and then putting a bunch of people in a room and doing trust falls and finding ways to work together. And so we've just tried to look in the mirror and honestly say, this is an area where we're falling down a little bit. Let's seek out some help from someone or someones who really specialize in this.
Great lesson, great learning. Key word for me there was humility, actually, being humble enough to know what you don't know and what you need help on, and seeking support for it. And anyone that thinks they don't need a coach at some point in their life is probably a little self-deluded. So good on you and the team for working it out that way, or seeking the support to do so. With that, maybe switching out of the learning the hard lessons to celebrating the successes. I know we normally do one startup a week to feature one of the cohort companies, but I think we're going to hit two today because of good things happening, and one we've done before, I believe. But tell us that.
Yeah, Danny, I think we're going to do two per week from now on. Just if purely from a numbers game, we're barely halfway through our first cohort, and as you already hinted at, we're about to start introducing new startups as well. So we're falling behind, but also it gives us a chance to pay attention both to startups we've already covered and show some of their progress, even since the last time we covered them, while also featuring new startups we haven't covered before at the same time. So very excited about that. We'll start this week with Reedi, a Nigerian startup we featured before, makes really cool kind of modular solar charged batteries that business owners, households can kind of rent in sort of a pay-as-you-go or pay for what you use business model, and use it to power their small business in or their home at a time in a place where they don't have a whole lot of grid reliability. And then when they're done with it, or when it's out of juice, they take it back to a kiosk where it can just be charged purely by solar, charge right back up, and they can take it back or take another one. So really cool business model. They're expanding pretty rapidly, looking to expand outside of Nigeria to other parts of Africa. And recently, they were named as a finalist in the inaugural Earthshot Prize in their efforts not only to kind of address climate change, but also to make clean energy more globally accessible for all. And I was really pleased to see the Earthshot documentary, see our friends at Reedi featured.
Yeah, this is Prince William's big new sort of Nobel Prize of solutions for the Earth that we're happy to say New Energy Nexus has actually been involved in a number of companies that are all finalists. They've been through different programs. One comes to mind as Takachar, which is a cal seed, cal testbed company here in California. And another is the AEM guys doing a membrane for hydrogen electrolyzers called Enapter. Really exciting business out of Germany and Thailand, who went through our Chinese accelerator, I think 2 years ago. So great to see companies we've worked with getting those sorts of recognitions, and congratulations. Reedi just making it to a finalist is fantastic news, because as we discussed when we first covered them, Nigeria is a nation with 70 million diesel generators, which are the normal way the middle class there makes up for the unreliable grid. If Reedi can scale and provide solar powered storage solutions for less, then they've got a huge business and a huge solution to climate. So that's a great one. What's your other favorite for the
Yeah,
week?
also, so this is one we have not covered before. So big shout out this week to BLUEDOT Photonics. Really cool hard tech startup that they're maximizing sunlight capture and conversion to electricity via solar using continuous flash sublimation for perovskite-based photovoltaics, which is something where there's always been a lot of interest, but we haven't yet seen the major breakthrough that we're hoping will kind of unlock perovskites. What they've done so far is showing about a 15% improved efficiency over the kind of standard solutions out there, very high durability, and 10% lower costs. So they're kind of checking a bunch of boxes all at once. And we're giving them a big shout out this week because they were recently featured in Scientific American for their work on really enabling the perovskite-based photovoltaic revolution.
Before I let you go, can I geek out a little bit? I understand enough about perovskites to be dangerous, but what is the continuous flash methodology they're using? So they're directing sunlight in flashes onto the perovskites.
So good question,
right?
Danny, and you're going to have to wait until Cyril Yee, our chief investment officer, or Josh Ackenbrod, our head of research and investments, comes in, because it's definitely above my pay grade.
All right, or I'll read the Scientific American article. We'll put it in the
good idea. We'll do.
All right, so thank you for another great enthralling installment of the journey of third derivative, mission log D3. This is Danny Kennedy checking out.
This is Bryan Guido Hassin, also almost ready to check out, but before I do, quick plea to hit that like button, subscribe, leave comments on lessons that you think we should be learning about team building and challenging times as we set big, ambitious goals. And find us wherever you get your podcasts. Find us if you like our beautiful faces. Come check us out on YouTube.